Charles, can you discuss what is the relationship between IOG, Cardano, and Mongolia, and what are some of the ongoing projects, and how is adoption in Mongolia going? Well, the people led, as I mentioned earlier in the AMA, 140,000 Mongols are using Cardano in some way, which is really impressive growth and adoption. It would be nice to do a digital identity and a supply chain system, because if you look at the needs of Mongolia in the agricultural sector, there are 5 animal types that are primarily important: horses, camels, the dromedaries, so the Bactrian, excuse me, the 2-hump camels, not the 1-hump. So you have cattle, you have camels, yaks, you have goats, and you have, I believe, sheep. Of the 5 agricultural animals, actually horses, excuse me, as your agricultural animals. So the goats are the most important part of Mongolian agriculture, because that's where the cashmere comes from. Gobi Group is a gargantuan company, and they export most of that, and they sell at great prices. When you look at the supply chains, there's something called the third neighbor policy, and there's this attempt to be able to try to export a lot of the agricultural goods to the United States and other places without tariffs. The problem is that they have to adhere to certain quality standards, or else the USDA is just not going to let that happen. And so how do you prove that? There needs to be a blockchain-based system that enables people to basically make statements about the life cycle of the animals and what they've gone through. Now, there's great technology. For example, let me show you this. There's a company called Sears Tag, for example. This link. Yeah, so let me share my screen real quickly here. Share screen. Wow. Wow. There we go. So if you take a look at Sears Tag, you can actually see these little devices, and they go on the ear of the cattle or the goat or whatever you want, and they're a full computer, and they basically tell you where your animals are at. And they have a little solar panel to keep them going, and they do a whole bunch of things: mortality alerts, activity monitoring, the temperature so they don't overheat, these types of things. This is kind of generation 1 IoT for cattle tagging, and it'd be really cool to see what we could do to get to generation 2, generation 3 stuff. And Mongolia would be a perfect place to pilot it. So if you can get better coverage of the country with some form of telecommunication, so maybe what World Mobile is doing, then you could get reliable connectivity in the most rural of places. And then if you could tag every animal, you could follow the life cycle. Now, it seems like it'd be a somewhat expensive thing to do. There's about 80 million animals in Mongolia, only 3 million people that are using the agricultural sector. But if you can get to that like $2-3 price point, you're talking about maybe $250 million for end-to-end tracking of all of the animals in the country. It's really not that expensive for all things considered from a nation-state viewpoint. And then if you could trace the entire life cycle, you can know where the animal's at, what they've been exposed to, the geographies they've gone to, the diet of plants that they've had. You're not going to get milk sick from them. You can know a lot about the antibiotic intake that they've had, accurate logging, that suddenly export makes a lot more sense. So these are the kinds of things I'm very interested in, and it's a great play for Atala Prism, because there's a track and tracing solution and an identity solution, because you can give an identity to a person, you can give an identity to a yak. You can create a verified NFT to represent an asset like a ball of cashmere, these types of things. And it'd be a lot of fun to chase and explore that. So we talked to Abuna, the Minister of Digital Transformation, and a few others in the government. And, at some point, I think we're ready to go. We were scaling up to do someththen COVID hit. And if I have to send a lot of people, it just doesn't work. So I said, all right, well, just Mongolia is not going anywhere. Let's calm down a little bit, and, we'll circle back to it. So hopefully in 2023, we'll be able to do something pretty cool.